Hey everyone, it's Cygnus, and welcome back to another episode of All the Magic. So in the last episode, we got started with Ars Nouveau, but in this episode, we're going to actually keep going with Ars Nouveau and get into some other interesting aspects of it. I've made some changes to the area around the base, so one of you guys commented that I seem to have an issue with lighting things. Well, coincidentally, it turns out the shovel we got in the last episode solves that problem. As you can see, it says right-clicking will place a torch at the cost of 2 durability. However, this item has the unbreakable tag, meaning it can't lose durability. So I can just place infinite torches. I have a shovel that gives infinite torches. I now have no excuse to not light things up. So, cleaned up the base, cleaned out the area, because there's going to be structures coming up here eventually, sometime soon, that are going to house different mods. We're going to have a windmill for create. We're going to have a section for blood magic. I've gone ahead and carved out a little section for mine, added stairs. I also got in a fight while preparing these stairs with a really powerful monster that I haven't seen before. It was named, it had full diamond armor, and I killed it by putting it in a hole and smothering it with gravel, but it dropped these, and it's actually named after the monster that dropped it, Weena or Uena's reinforced ironclad diamond solar rays, which are really powerful. They're protection 6 with indestructible, meaning I will never need to replace these boots until I get something stronger. With all of that out of the way, we can actually go back into the base, added a chest out here just in case I need to store anything quickly, did some cleaning up. I went ahead and used the spellbook right here to add some lights. So I have a couple of new spells. So we have Mage Light, obviously we kept stone mining, we have Magic Bolt, we have Frostwalk, but we also have Accelerate. Accelerate is currently a spell I very much enjoy because I have an affinity for going fast in Minecraft mod packs, and I tend to very quickly find a way to go even faster. So now we have basically speed 2 anytime we want it. All I have to do is right click and we get speed 2. So let's go back inside and get started with some more Ars Nouveau. So today we're going to be doing the Enchanting section of Ars Nouveau. Let's go ahead and look in the quest book for that. We're going to be doing this section, and I mostly prepared the resources, but this is essentially going to allow us to get into summoning, into ritual braziers, and also making the material for Mage Bloom fiber called Mage Bloom. And with that Mage Bloom, we'll be able to start getting into these armors, which give us additional magic, which is going to be good for preparing spells. Also, downstairs, I added an extra agronomic source link and an extra source jar, and over here, this is a crystallizer setup. So we have the agronomic source link pulling in source from here, the source jar, which stores it, and then the crystallizer, which crystallizes it and turns it into Ars Nouveau source crystals. Now, unfortunately, none have been made that I can show you right now, but it will fill up eventually, and it will make that and turn it into a source gem. It's not fast, but it's sort of a nice little background operation we can have going, getting us source gems instead of having to go down in the mines constantly and find things that can be kind of hard to find sometimes. But let's go ahead and get started with making this. So we want to make first the enchanting apparatus. So I have the stuff on me right now. Let's go ahead and make that. Pretty easy to make. There we go. That's one of them. And then we're going to want to make 8 of the arcane pedestals, which I have just enough to do that, and make the arcane core. I actually need a little bit more. I thought I was going to have just enough. It was almost perfect. That's fine. Don't gotta worry about it. Just make 8 more, and then just like that, and I believe it's 2 gold, and we get the arcane core. Now we're going to check our worn notebook, and we're going to go look at the enchanting apparatus. The enchanting apparatus utilizes pedestals and source for crafting. To use the enchanting apparatus, place any number of arcane pedestals nearby with their items. Once you have filled the pedestals, use the middle item on the enchanting apparatus block. The enchanting apparatus requires an arcane core beneath it in order to work. So that's the enchanting apparatus. Then we have the core. Now we can go look at the ritual braziers. So this is the ritual brazier. We need a lot of source gem block, and we'll get into that a bit later. Unfortunately, we don't have the sources or the source gem blocks on hand. So this will allow us to get into making rituals, which allows us to make these tablets over here. And each of these tablets do different things, and we'll get into that. But right now, we really want to be getting into the enchanting apparatus. So let's go ahead and pull that up. I believe it's right here. Okay, so we should be able to get this set up pretty easily. We have everything we need going on right here. So the enchanting apparatus needs to be, I believe, on or underneath. Let's double check. Arcane core beneath it. So arcane core, enchanting apparatus, I think that's close enough. And then we'll get the arcane pedestals going right here. I believe it's like this. And then bup, bup, bup. There we go. And now we can start preparing a recipe. So we don't want to make the summoning crystal just yet. We want to make Mage Bloom. Now, Mage Bloom is grown from a seed made in the enchanting apparatus. So the Mage Bloom seed is right here. So the Mage Bloom seed is made with 4 source gems and any other seed that we happen to have on hand. So this is actually made exactly the amount we need. Amazing. So we have our 4 source gems. Let's go ahead and grab our seeds. We have a surplus of those. So we can go ahead and make one of these. So we want to add in any order around here. Bop, 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 bop. Then we place this in the middle, and now it's going to do some magic, pull in some source. It's going to pull it from over here, and bam, we got a Mage Bloom seed. Now this Mage Bloom seed we can plant over here, and this is going to start growing Mage Bloom. And Mage Bloom produces more mana or source that we can store in these than your normal plant. And with those growing, we'll be able to get Mage Bloom and then Mage Bloom fiber, meaning we'll be able to finally start making the things we need to cast bigger spells or even set up little spell sections, because we can actually use runes to have spells trigger in certain conditions. But what I really, really want to get into is the summons, but we won't be able to get into that just yet. We're going to have to, unfortunately, put that off just a tiny bit. Now, while we're waiting on this to make more source for us, so we can end up getting more of these Mage Bloom seeds, because I want to fill this whole thing out with Mage Bloom seeds, I want to get started with a second mod. I did mention earlier, we're going to be doing some create out here, and I meant that. Today, we're going to at least get the start of create going, because create allows us to automate a lot of processes that might otherwise be very inconvenient or even downright impossible to get functioning efficiently. So we're going to start with that. And to start with that, we just need to make ourselves some andesite alloy. So let's go ahead and do that. We can come down here. We already have the iron. We need to grab the stone. We got plenty of andesite. And we'll turn some of this iron into that. There we go. And let's put our andesite in there. Andesite alloy, just like that. And we'll get the reward from the quest. Now with that, we can start moving into the other important aspects of create. So first and foremost, we'll probably want to move into getting cogwheels and then a water wheel, because that's going to be a very easy and early way to get rotational energy before we can afford to move into, say, a windmill, which I will want to do, just can't do that right away. And then we'll be able to get into some mechanical harvesting, and we can set up an automatic crop or even automatic milling station. So with the andesite alloy, we'll be able to start moving into the other parts of create, and included in that is the windmill. So it's not explicitly called a windmill, however, it is a set of items that when combined and built up into a structure create a functioning windmill, which we will actually use to make an actual mill that also will provide us with rotational energy. And a large reason we want to get into create and have everything built up is create is actually needed to craft the All the Mod star. as well as many in-game items. So having that done soon will be very beneficial to us in the long term. So let's go ahead and get some resources, and we can go ahead and start building up a windmill. And we'll go ahead and start preparing some of the materials, like the radial chassis and the other structures we'll need to actually construct the windmill itself. So I will be right back. We'll build this up, and it should only take me a couple of minutes, so I'm not going to do a time lapse for it. We'll just skip ahead for it. Shouldn't take me long. I did record a little bit after building this, but the recording after that corrupted a little bit, so I'm just taking a couple steps backward. So we have the lighthouse going on, not the lighthouse, the windmill going on here. It's a little short at the moment, doesn't need to be tall though. We'll be installing the windmill configuration right up here. I've already started building it. I got the radial chassis and the white sail made, and now we're just going to take a few moments, and now we're going to actually double check the process to make a wind-powered system, and then we'll hopefully be able to get started on actually building it. So I'll be just a second. Okay, and there was one element we were missing called the windmill bearing. So we'll need to make this real quick, and once we make this, should be able to get started. So we'll just want to make any kind of slab will do, and get the turntable, then we will make the windmill bearing, and now we can actually start on the windmill itself. Now it doesn't have to be extraordinarily high in the air, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. We really just can build a windmill, and I know it's going to probably irritate people just a little bit, but this stuff is a little off center, and honestly that's not that big of a deal. But let's go ahead and get this process started. I'm thinking it just needs to come out to about here, so we'll place the chassis, radial doohickeys. Right, we'll have it come out to here, and we can start attaching the sails. All right, we're getting this going. It's a bit of an annoying process, but it'll be fine. This should work. All right, let's go ahead and clear off the blocks around it and give it a quick test. Right click with an empty hand, and there we go. That's a windmill. It's very weak right now, but it doesn't need to be anything fancy. We'll go ahead and make it not like that. Don't want to do that. Do bop and bop, and a little bit of that, and we have some windmill down here. That got lost. So we can probably, yeah, we can reach. There we go. Okay, and we'll go break off that little extra bit at the end that we don't need. And now we will have a form of power. Nothing super fancy just yet, but it is pneumatic power. So we'll clean this out. And I can extend some of these from it, and we will right click it with an empty hand. There we go. Now it's spinning. And now, once we get everything set up, we have a functioning windmill. It's a little small at the moment. Obviously, we'll make that bigger, get more power from it, but it's a start, and it's more than we had before. And I think this would be a perfect time for us to leave off. So in the next episode, we're going to be expanding the windmill a bit, and we're going to start getting more into Create. There's some resources I want to use in that, and there's some automation I want to get into, such as automatic farming. We'll also be waiting for more source gems so we can make more of the Mageberry and move into having a lot more Ars Nouveau stuff, and hopefully sometime soon we'll be able to get into the next stage of summoning, because Zereard, our little guy back there, he's slow. I did want to ask you guys, are there any design styles you want to see me do, like for the inside of the base, or even for out here, if there's any specific building styles that you'd like to see? And if there are, feel free to send them to me on Twitter, or just leave a comment down below and let me know the style that you'd like to see these areas done in. I'm willing to try pretty much any style, and I think that'd be a fun way for you guys to get involved. But I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.